Ben the Soldier. Is he the sweetest punchline on Always Sunny or the most baffling person in the gang's orbit? Let's figure out what the writers are doing with him. TV. Ben is one of those Always Sunny characters who shows up like a soft burr in everyone's life. He's gentle, a little weird, and somehow utterly unthreatening. And yet the show keeps tossing him into scenes that make you squint and wonder what's actually going on under the surface. Is he clueless? Is he naive? Is he secretly sharper than he looks? Or is the joke that he's just a very nice mess? If you need a quick refresher, Ben shows up first in Season 5, showing up by bus to meet Dee's online alias. He's an army corporal. He apparently worked as a programmer for the military, and the gang gives him a pair of Frank's jean shorts, which become a running visual gag. He's soft, gets pushed around emotionally by Dee, and the show repeatedly uses him as a foil for the gang's nastiness. He's memorable because he's so unlike everyone else in Paddy's Pub. The writers give us a few straightforward beats about Ben's background and behavior. He's in the military, which the gang treats as a front for military toughness, but Ben's own testimony about his service is weirdly matter-of-fact. He says he was a computer programmer and didn't see any combat, and in fact he describes the deployment as fun because he got to travel. That's deliberately offbeat in a show built on macho fantasy. The result is a character who's nominally a soldier, and yet not who you'd expect. The show also gives us props and choices: a wheelchair one episode, a penchant for face paint, the jean shorts, and it uses those props to keep the audience off balance. The basic question people ask is, how can this guy be a military programmer and also be this soft? Let's separate two things: intellectual ability and social savvy. The show never has to prove Ben's IQ with a test. Instead, it shows him in scenes that reveal social naivete. He sits in a hot car waiting for Dee without opening the windows. He's emotionally fragile after their breakup. He sits in rooms where people pressure him and only later appears to get pulled into things like blow at parties. That looks like gullibility to me, but gullibility is not the same as low intelligence. You can be technically competent and emotionally uncomplicated at the same time. The military often needs people who can handle repetitive, detail-oriented tasks. Exactly the sort of person who might be good at programming without being streetwise about con artists and small-time grifters. One of the best moments to interrogate Ben's smarts is the Invigoron pyramid scheme plot. Dee and Charlie pitch Ben and his platoon on Invigoron, and apparently some of his unit falls for it, which should read as evidence Ben's group is gullible. Yet at one point, Ben seems to see through the pitch. He gives a reaction that suggests he understands the scam, and he's not dazzled by the sales patter the way typical victims are. So what's going on? He genuinely gets it, but other members of his platoon are less skeptical, and he either goes along and gets roped in by group dynamics, or he's pretending to get it, trying to appear savvy in a social situation where he doesn't want to be mocked, and then later the social pressure or the gang's manipulation pushes him to act against his better judgment. Either idea supports that Ben is not stupid, more just socially pliable. Next, we're going to look at Ben's relationship with Dee. The show uses their romance to reveal something about both characters. Dee treats him like a project, sometimes bragging or trying to manipulate him, and Ben seems both adoring and needy. After they break up, Dee's menacing, petty behavior is played for laughs, but Ben's reaction is genuinely sad and fragile. He says Dee pressured him sexually and emotionally, which frames him as someone lacking boundaries or the ability to set them, and that's not cognitive deficiency, it's emotional vulnerability. The writers are clearly constructing him as a person who gets hurt easily. The gang tries to trigger Ben's PTSD to get him to do whatever they want, assuming he'll be malleable. Two things happen that matter. First, Ben is not the PTSD broken figure the gang expects. He states he enjoyed being in the army because programming allowed him to travel, not fight. Second, the experiment they do fails to realize the complexity of trauma and the unpredictability of response. Ben's reaction undermines the gang's assumptions. This is another moment where the show highlights the gang's stupidity while Ben's interior stays private and weird. There's a reading where Ben's behavior is intentionally performative, that he knows more than he lets on and plays the guileless card because it's safer. The show hints at this when he occasionally surprises people with a sensible remark, or when he seems to react to scams with a flicker of awareness. But the writing rarely rewards that reading with a full reveal. Ben's moments of clarity are quite fleeting. That suggests the writers want him to inhabit the middle ground between clever and credulous. The ambiguity is the point. You keep guessing, and that keeps the character alive. Pay attention to props and running jokes, because they anchor a lot of Ben's persona. The jean shorts Frank gives him are a goofy gift that the show keeps returning to. The face paint bits, the nightcap rumor, the wheelchair moment, these minimize him into an eccentric who invites mockery or pity. The show aligns the audience with the gang's impulse to mock rather than defend, which is the cruel engine Always Sunny runs on. Ben being a little ridiculous makes it easy for the main characters to exploit him for viewers to write him off as simple. I think the writers use Ben for several functions at once. He's a mirror that shows how cruel the gang can be to someone harmless. He's a puzzle that lets the audience project complexity onto a figure who's not fully explained. And he's a comedic contrast. In a world of liars and predators, Ben's sincerity is a shock, and we laugh to cover our discomfort. Because of that, the show intentionally keeps him ambiguous. They do not need to make him a full-throated genius, or a textbook dupe, or a tragic victim. They just need him to be the sort of person the gang can bounce off emotionally. My take is that Ben's not stupid, he's just emotionally inexperienced and socially naive. He has a technical skill set that explains the computer programmer line, and he has a temperament that makes him approachable and easily hurt. The scenes where he seems to see through scams suggest he has cognitive ability, but he lacks the type of social armor to protect himself from manipulative people, including Dee and the gang. The show doesn't punish that lack of armor, it actually uses it for dark comedy. Ben works because he's not a neat joke. He's a soft spot the writers can press to show the gang's nastiness, but they're careful not to make him only a prop. There's a humanity to him that keeps the audience unsettled. He's a reminder that not every problem in Sunny's world needs a punchline answer. Some of them are just sad. What scene sold you on Ben's weirdness? Was it the picnic, the podcast, the Invigoron pitch, or something else? Let me know down below, and thanks for watching.